mynews.studio.
A bullet intended to silence a schoolgirl instead set off a movement around the world. How did Malala Yousafzai's story shift the fight for girls' education?
Today is June 11th, 2025. Malala's story really did change the conversation about girls' education. If we go back to the start, she was born in Mingora, Pakistan in 1997, right when the Taliban began targeting girls' schools. Her father was already active in education, but what stands out is how early she began. At just 11, she was writing a diary for BBC Urdu, describing what it was like living under Taliban threat.
Right, and just think about that for a moment. Why would an 11-year-old risk so much to write about her daily life? She saw schools being burned, strict bans coming in, and still chose to speak out. Her diary didn't just document her experience. It gave a voice to countless girls who couldn't speak up. That's a rare kind of courage.
It's striking. But that visibility also made her a target. In 2012, when she was 15, Malala was shot in the head on her way home from school. Instead of silencing her, the attack brought worldwide attention. She was sent to the UK for treatment and kept advocating from there. Why do you think the world responded so strongly to her story?
Maybe because it made real the dangers girls face just to get an education. And it wasn't only about sympathy. Her recovery led to massive support for her cause, and she started the Malala Fund. That fund now supports education for girls, especially in places where it's most at risk.
And the impact wasn't just in headlines. At 16, Malala spoke at the United Nations, calling for education for all children. A year later, she became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner. But beyond the awards, has her activism led to actual changes on the ground?
That's an important point. The Malala Fund's Girl Program and their Education Champion Network are at the core. They don't simply donate. They invest in local education advocates. For example, in Lebanon, the fund helped open a school for Syrian refugee girls. In Nigeria, they've brought attention to girls kidnapped by Boko Haram. And in Pakistan, the government passed the Right to Education bill and created a $10 million fund in her name.
So, it's a mix of changing policy and working directly with communities. But what are the main obstacles girls still face? Is conflict the main issue, or are there others?
It's layered. Conflict is a big barrier, but not the only one. There's also poverty, child marriage, and local resistance to change. The Malala Fund tries to address these by supporting local leaders who understand their communities. For example, in Afghanistan and Nigeria, their partners work on things like making schools safer and preventing child marriage.
I wonder, how do these local partnerships actually work? How do they make sure the solutions fit each place?
The Education Champion Network looks for local activists who really know their communities. They spend time listening to girls and their families, involve parents, and come up with solutions that fit, like arranging safe transport or flexible school hours. By building trust and working together, they help the community take ownership of the changes.
And that's probably what helps changes last, right? When the community leads, it sticks. Malala herself doesn't just advocate from afar. She visits refugee camps, talks to leaders, and keeps these issues in the news. Her book, I Am Malala, also keeps the story alive.
Absolutely. Education isn't just about individual success. It links to economic growth, public health, even peace. Malala's story resonates globally because it frames education as a basic human right and a tool for progress. Her fight brings together governments, NGOs, and grassroots activists.
So, if one person's voice can do this much, what happens when entire communities or countries join in? Malala's journey shows that real transformation often starts with one idea, but needs collective effort to continue.
Exactly. Her legacy proves that challenging the status quo, even at a young age, can create lasting change. The movement for girls' education is ongoing, but every step forward matters.
And that really brings us full circle. One act of courage in the Swat Valley started not just awareness, but real change, policy, funding, and grassroots action that's reached millions.
Thank you for joining us as we explored Malala Yousafzai's journey and the global movement for girls' education.
Stay curious, stay informed. Remember, change often begins with a single determined voice.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.